One thing is all entrepreneurs will go through the same challenges. Different industry, different types of businesses, but the challenges are the same. So if you're able, just look for a mentor, look for advice. Don't invent a wheel, just talk to somebody. Overhiring and over-expanding is the first thing you want to do when you see the first signs of success. But just be careful with that. That can actually end a lot of companies in ruins, focus more on the quality and the culture rather than doing multiple things at the same time, because it won't be successful. The third one is, as we were talking about, the situation in the world, AI, not AI. There are a lot of challenges, but every challenge is an opportunity for entrepreneur. Every problem requires a solution, and that's the idea for every entrepreneur.
Welcome to the Pantrium Podcast. Here, there's no fluff and no sales pitches, just real conversations. I'm your host, Christie Kristensen, and at Pantrium, we bring together bold and curious founders and leaders to share their stories, their lessons they have learned, and the hard truth behind their success. We are all about challenging the status quo and explore fresh perspectives while focusing on what really matters: people. If you're craving deeper conversations, you're in the right space. So let's dive in. Pavel, welcome to the Pantrium Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me today.
Of course. I'm really happy to have you on the show today. I've been looking forward to it since our first initial conversation a few weeks ago.
Yeah, me too.
So, as you know, the first question I ask all my guests is to introduce themselves with a fun fact. So, without further ado, Pavel, what's yours?
I have a fun story, and it's a story about how how Wirex actually became popular in Japan. At some point, a long time ago, it was our first year of Wirex. We just launched a product. The product was getting a bit traction, but we were still a very small company. We received an email from Japan, from Tokyo, and email was saying, "Hey, we organizing the first Fintech festival. It's called FinSam in Tokyo, and would you like to join?" I talked to my partner, business partner, and he said, we UK-based company focusing on UK and European market. What's the point? There is a cost associated, and it's long flight. Maybe next time. So we declined the offer. And then we got a reply saying, "You know what? We'll pay all the cost. Please come. It's very important." And we were like, "Okay, we've never been in Tokyo. Maybe we should go." And fast forward, we went to this event. And part of the event, there was a startup competition. There was probably around 50 different startups from UK, Europe, United States, and other parts of the world. Again, for Japan, for Tokyo, it was the first FinTech conference, so there was a lot of attention and media attention on this event. And we participated in a startup competition. And long story short, we actually won the competition. So we became, we got a gold medal or first place in the first FinTech summit in Tokyo. And after that, our journey, Wirex journey, accelerated, and we raised funds from strategic VC in Japan. Japan actually became the second biggest market for us back in the days, and it was a very funny, interesting, memorable journey for us. That's my fun story.
I really like that. And I think it's pretty impressive. You actually got a conference to pay for your travels. That's not often that's the case. And then you won. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So there was a lot of things. It was the first event in Tokyo. So that's why think organizers was very interested in attracting these foreign companies coming to Tokyo and coming to Japan. And Japan is a long flight for a lot of at least UK European companies. But yeah, it's a very interesting and different experience, and we are quite lucky.
That is really cool. And yes, it is a very long flight. I've been to Japan. It's long, but it's beautiful, and what a wonderful country and people as well.
That's true. That's true.
And today, Pavel, we're going to talk about your journey, but also, establishing a business. And now you alluded to also new markets and expansion. We're going to talk a lot about that in this conversation. So let's just dive right into it. One of the things I wanted to hear about from your journey, what's some of those hardest lessons you have learned?
Well, there are a few of them, and Wirex is a 10 years old company, so we celebrated 10 years anniversary December last year. So it's a lot of time, and it's quite interesting that when you feel that you've learned all the lessons, there's another lesson to learn.
Yeah.
And company and there are different things in different stages you learn as your company growing. But one of probably the top items or top lessons I've learned is that the entrepreneur journey is it's never a straight line. So it's all about ups and downs, and the success of a company and success of you as an entrepreneur most of the time depends on not how you go through this success moments, but actually how you navigate these down moments and how you deal with the challenges and the stress. And one of the main challenge was, at least for me, is that nobody actually told me that, hey, there is ups and downs, and you just need to get used to that. I think that was one of the biggest surprises for me. But I think the lesson learned is that if you are able to navigate these down moments, and company has more than one during the history, and if you can navigate them good enough, that probably will define how you or your company successful. You're successful as an entrepreneur, or your company is successful as a business. And I think this lesson is applicable to any type of business. It can be, Fintech, in case of Wirex, or it can be any other business.
I totally agree. And this is really interesting because there's almost this perfect picture, rose picture of how wonderful it is to be an entrepreneur. You're your own boss. You decide yourself. You can do whatever you want and whatnot. How did you then? Tell me a story about how did you actually then manage and go through a stressful period where it was not easy and it was really tough. How did you navigate that?
Well, I think in our case, so there are two founders of Wirex, or co-founders, and what helped a lot is there are two of us. So we were kind of in the same boat, and we were supporting each other. And again, this, every down moment is slightly different. And I think this when you realize that, hey, that's just another down moment, or, you just need to go for that. It's the support of somebody who's supporting you as a business partner played a huge role. I think I'm just, keep thinking about this, but if it's just, you on your own as a founder, it's much more difficult to go through all these moments. So I don't have any secret sauce, but I think, again, just what contributed a lot is that I had a business partner. So that's why it was a bit easier for me.
Yeah, so you have someone you can lean on in difficult times, and perhaps also talk about those challenges or the what puts you under pressure and how do you overcome that. And I want to hear a little bit more about when you say also you have a partner, and it might be very different, and you, because you already have almost a support system as you are co-founders, more so than if you are a solo entrepreneur.
Have you ever experienced that you are still two individuals and you probably have two different forces into the organization, where one of you, you might have a really tough time and feel pressured, and you are kind of on that, tough journey, where your co-founder might actually find it perfect and smooth and enjoying his time. How do you then navigate that, or how did you then kind of overcome those challenges together?
Well, look, it's there are pros and cons of having a co-founder, right? When you're on your own, you kind of make your decision and you're doing all right. But when you have somebody else doing business with you, it's always a challenge. You're absolutely right. And again, there might be another person might going through some kind of personal challenges, for example, or he or she might have different opinion about how you need to do a business, or like what direction we should take. And we have a bit of everything in our journey. So and you just need to communicate, and you just need to talk through these challenges. It's absolutely normal, and it's actually good when people have different opinions. But if you both open to have a discussion in order to find a better solution, and sometimes both parties think, okay, the solution are better, or the direction are better than something else. But I think the communication is the key, and this kind of relationship with your co-founders is, it's not exactly the same as any other type of relationship, but it's still relationship, and the communication is the key for having healthy business relationship with your co-founders.
Yeah. Can you give me an example of that, where you have found a good rhythm and structure on how you have a healthy business relationship?
So one of the kind of the first thing we discovered quite quickly is that we need to separate our areas of focus, because like if two people or more than two people doing or focusing on the same areas, so there will be just more arguments, more different thoughts, and it will be not really productive. So what we discovered quite quickly, okay, we just need to one guy is focusing on let's say in case of me, I'm focusing on product and IT related, because I have computer science degree, and it's what I enjoy doing, to be honest. And my co-founder, he's focusing on more legal compliance, all the exciting stuff. It was one of the probably simplest thing, and kind of a common sense, but if you start focusing on different things, you can actually be more productive and have 360 view on everything. And it's very handy when you have one co-founder or two co-founders, because you can have twice or three times more meetings, or sales pitches.
Yeah, and I think also like respect for each other's expertise and fields, and then lean in and listen and embrace each other's differences. Just as you said, I think that's definitely very very essential for a healthy work relationship. And I suppose also that's where you and I'm keen to hear your opinion about this. The importance of finding the right co-founder.
Okay. That's a very good question. People are different, and some people match, some people don't. And sometimes it's difficult to say straight away if it's going to be a good match for you or not. And I keep explaining how it's structured in Wirex, but to be completely honest, it wasn't like 100% of the time it was like everyone happy and we're best friends and everything else. I think all co-founders at some point in the journey, they have a kind of a moment, like, when they want to kill the co-founder. So, and this is absolutely normal.
Yeah.
And it's, look, there's kind of, usual recommendation. If you, in modern era, you need somebody with technical knowledge, or somebody who's willing to at least cover this area, because a lot of businesses in different areas, they're now becoming, somehow, related or relying on technology. Yeah. Obviously, now we're going through this kind of all the AI boom, and if you don't use AI or AI agents or incorporate AI in your system, you might, missing on some opportunities.
Yeah.
And so, in terms of kind of, skill set, again, different, businesses are different, but having technical background or technical skills in current era helps. And then it's more just about personality match. It's, having like two strong leaders sometimes lead to disaster. Yeah. And, leaders means different things, but if you,
opposite meets
anyway,
right?
Yeah, it's better to, when you two people complement each other rather than competing with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. We should kind of move the conversation further into the Wirex space and hear a little bit more about your journey there. So when you and your co-founder were establishing your fintech and got going, and especially on your market expansion, tell me a little bit more about those learnings and those experiences as you were growing. And you mentioned, as we kicked off with Japan. Tell me a little bit more.
So we started Wirex in December 2014. It's almost 10 years ago. And initially for us, it was more like a side project, because myself and my co-founder were kind of reaching the point in our previous careers. And I was working in investment banks in London, doing different trading platforms, trading strategies. And my co-founder, he had other business in green energy field. And we were kind of reaching the point where, okay, we were looking for something new and exciting. And back in the days, Bitcoin, there was only one cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. And we were like, okay, what can we do with that? And it was like super small market, niche, and, but very exciting. And yeah, we came up with the idea of connecting Bitcoin wallet and debit card, because the idea was, okay, let's actually give Bitcoin and cryptocurrency a real utility in everyday life. And it also, because of a physical card, it gets, gives people something like, physical you can put in a wallet, which is quite cool. And we quite quickly actually launched like MVP and prototype. And I think the reason why, or the fact that we did it quickly, was part of our success, because we were able to actually validate that, there is first of all, there's a pain point we're trying to solve, there is a demand for that. So it took us 3 months, and we launched a product in February, end of February.
3 months from idea to actually launching, or what do you mean 3 months?
Yeah. So yeah, wow. It's well, idea was maybe a month earlier, and we took a month just to finalize it, how we want to do it, and then it took us 3 months to actually execute prototype. The prototype, or MVP, was fully operational. And it was very, very simple. It was only kind of, one function. You have Bitcoin, you click one button. It was literally one button. You click one button and money appears on the card, and you can use these funds. But back in the days, it was like, wow, people couldn't believe it's possible. But because the market limitations, so the market was small, so we started growing, but the progress was relatively small because of the size of addressable market. But what we discovered later is that the crypto industry moves in cycles. And then there is a new trend, upward trend, so the market going up, it actually brings you to the up and accelerates your growth. And it's there was a coincidence with our trip to Japan, but all things actually come to at the same time. There was a new cycle in crypto industry. Everything was going up.
The stars were aligned.
Yeah, so we just got funding. We got money. The market was expanding because the crypto going up, and we were like, riding this wave, and one of the best times in our industry. And then later we discovered that in every cycle there is a first part of a cycle when everything exciting and cool, and there is a second part of a cycle is that everything going down, or this bubble pops, and that was a bit of painful discovery, but we went through this process a couple of times actually already, because every 4 cycle the crypto industry go through the cycles, and yeah, it's kind of fast forward where we are with Wirex right now. We have 6 million users in more than 100 countries. We kind of global fintech, mainly focusing on connecting blockchain technology with traditional payment and traditional finance. It's where we are right now.
So let me, I'm curious to understand how you're navigating, as you're saying, you have this peak over the first, or wherever you are in the cycle. You have 4 years where it's an upward positive trend and everything is good. And I suppose that's also a bit of an adrenaline, right? You have this ride, and then it kind of come to an end per se. It switches and then it reverse. How, and going back to almost what you said as well, like as a founder, that it's not always easy. How do you navigate those changes in the market, and how do you stay resilient towards those changes?
A couple of things we've learned. Going back to this, the first cycle for us, when everything was growing, you don't really need to do much, but your business is growing, a number of clients are growing, and I do remember, because I was kind of a first-time founder, so I was going through this process of being successful. Then, media message you like every other day, and they're asking for interview, or video interview, or like written interview, and I was like, okay, well, what's going on there?
Yeah. And I famous all of a sudden.
Yeah, and because I'm introvert, so for me, it's actually it's cool, but I didn't like it. I didn't like attention, but it was kind of at some point it became part of my job. But lessons which we learned was during this first cycle, we were overhiring and overexpanding. And overexpanding, it means in geographical sense. So we started focusing at the same time on probably 6 very, very different markets. And in fintech, focusing means we were hiring people in Japan, in Canada, in Singapore, in the United States, in other parts of the world, going through the licensing process. And later on, we understood, okay, that was a mistake, because you can't really do all these things, and they're big when it comes to financial services or the licensing, hiring people, and you're trying to do it as fast as you can. So we ended up overhiring, spending too much money on global expansion. And as a result of that, we had to actually close quite a lot of offices later on, when we realized, okay, the market has turned, and now we have this, 5 different countries where we're trying to get grow a team, grow a business, get regulated. but we need to focus, otherwise it will be end of a business. So, and we had to make this kind of tough decision of letting people go in some countries and shutting down the offices. So this is like not a very exciting process for entrepreneur, but it's what we learned. And like later on in further cycles, we were very careful with hiring, and be kind of careful with hiring. It's not just about number of people, but it's about actually spending time in order to find the right fit in terms of the skills, in terms of the team fit, in terms of the experience and expertise, and actually looking for people who can get the business, push the business from step 1 to step 2 to the kind of a next step. We did a mistake, previous cycle. We were overhiring, and we were focusing on quantity of people, like number of people. And we didn't pay much attention to actually quality of people. And when you do that, the first thing which suffers is culture in the company. And culture is very important. It's very, different people understand the culture differently. But when you bring a lot of people, they all contribute to the culture. But if you don't have a right culture in place, it's very difficult to it's very actually easy to lose the track and get less productive.
Yeah. And then can you tell me a little bit more about how do you actually then do that? You hire the right people. Is it also because you're then looking at perhaps remote workers so you can move them across different markets? Or can you tell, like, how do you actually do it?
Yeah. So different companies have like different opportunities. As a small company, as an almost known, nobody knows about your brand, it will be more difficult to acquire talents. But so that's why when we started, we have really limited opportunities in terms of the access to the talent pool. And because we didn't have much experience, we were, might be more focusing on what's written on CV rather than, team fit or other elements. But right now, Wirex is relatively big brand and globally recognized. So for us, it's much easier to find the right people and right talent. And in terms of the process, it's basically, before it probably was like, one person, like a manager, just, involving in the process, and he was the decision making, and it's not the right way to do it. But now we have actually different steps. And one of the last steps, we invite just, 3, 4, 5 member of senior team, or just, member of the team, depending on the position. And for us, it's actually a good opportunity to introduce our company. And for candidates, it's a good opportunity to introduce himself, because the interview is a two-way process. It's not just about hiring candidates, but it's also about candidates choosing the right place for them to work and grow their career.
Yeah.
So yeah, long story short, we have just much longer process now, but we're focusing on different areas, not just skills or experience, but team fit is very important as well. And when I'm saying team fit, it's how this particular individual fits into the team culture as well.
Yeah. And then speaking of cultural fit, I'm curious, do you then also look beyond the traditional CV? I've had a conversation a few months back, actually, where they were even hiring waiters that had that cultural sense that they were looking for their kind of frontline staff in terms of sales and relationship and success managers. Do you do that as well, where you look beyond perhaps the traditional CV, where you're looking for the people who check all the boxes, but or how do you scope out your pool of talent?
Well, our HR or our people might explain it a bit better, but it's not all about CEO skills. I think if people have enough motivation and they can demonstrate this motivation to grow or to progress, they can show an enthusiasm that can. It's a big contributing factor in when making decisions about hiring or not hiring. So for us, it's the skills are good, but to be completely honest, anyone can acquire all the skills. So it's all about your motivation, your ability to learn and this sort of thing. So sometimes, we kind of open-minded in terms of hiring people. If we think, okay, some skills might be missing or some experience might be missing, but the person demonstrated that they can learn, or they want to learn and they want to progress. It's a big contributing factor.
I totally agree on that. And when I mentor different female founders, I also always talk about this aspect of that on paper we can all do the same. Like a marketeer is a marketeer, or a salesperson is a salesperson, a DevOps like engineer is an engineer. But is that it's those soft skills, is the human touch, like who are you as an individual? How do you think? How do you go about solving problems? The way your brain works, that's what differentiates ourselves, because from a kind of a diploma certificates perspective, we can do the same one-to-one more or less.
I do agree.
I wanted to ask, as you were talking about go to market, the challenges and the cycles and so on, if you were to give your younger self a piece of advice as you were entering this journey, what would that be?
That's a very good question. It's probably coming to this kind of the biggest lessons we learned about ups and downs. And it's when you first time entrepreneur. First of all, nobody. So I keep saying that nobody told me about that, which is fine. But what I also think was not doing enough. I didn't have any mentor, and I was absolutely sure that I don't actually need mentoring. I don't need advice. I know better than anything else what I want and how I want to do things. And this is very, very common thing. So you always learn on your own mistakes rather than relying on someone's opinion. So if we can turn back time, I would probably have somebody who went through this journey as a mentor, because it probably will make my life much easier, or would help, because all entrepreneurs, we actually go through with different types of businesses, we're going through very, very similar challenges, dealing with co-founder which you want to kill sometimes. So how do you combine your personal challenges in your personal life with your business work, on how you communicate with the rest of the team, how you navigate this success, or how you navigate actually not success period of your journey. So I think that's probably what I would do if we can turn back time.
Only if we could, but you can at least help others, right, with your experience and all the things we're talking about here as well. Hopefully that's going to give some inspiration for others to then now seek a mentor, among other things. I wanted to switch gears a little bit and hear about the future. What rules would you love to see broken or changed as we move ahead over the next couple of years?
So we are in quite interesting time in the world right now, for various reasons.
I think that's an understatement.
Yeah. But every challenge is opportunity, and I think there are so many opportunities at the moment when it comes to doing business. From a technical side, I think we're going through this kind of AI revolution, and I personally think it will change a lot on how we do business. And it affects like different types of business. It doesn't matter if you do, I don't know, financial services or you're doing something else, because AI will be contributing to different areas. In case of Wirex, for example, we are betting a lot on AI, and we're trying to integrate a lot of AI functionality in what we're doing on front end in product. We're using AI a lot of in internal processes as well, and it's quite funny how you see that people going through exactly the same, like they're saying AI. No, we don't need it. That's just rubbish. And then you see that actually people start using this and they see the positive effect on efficiency, and we're like, okay, fine, let's do more of that. So in Wirex, we're going through this transition right now. Part of the senior management team already went through this kind of, I don't like it, to like, let's use it everywhere. And part of the team, they just still at this first step, like, I don't trust it. I'll rather do things in Excel or Notepad rather than using AI. So yeah, future, I think for Wirex and a lot of businesses is embracing AI. Future for us as a fintech or crypto businesses is that there's a big trend for stablecoins and stablecoin payments. I think this will be accelerating, and we see the great opportunity for us there. And given UK and Europe is quite big, one of the key markets for us, and there are a lot of talks about deregulation in Europe, because right now I think the market is over-regulated, and it actually suppresses the innovation in different areas, especially in financial services and financial technology.
Yeah.
So, but I think people actually realizes that it's there. So it probably takes a bit of time to actually deal with the issue.
Yeah. No, yeah, there's a lot to unfold there. That's for sure. I wanted to hear, before I move on to my next question, as we're coming to the end of our conversation, you were touching upon the adoption and the change of mindset when it comes to AI. What would you advise listeners to do tomorrow? Like, what could they actively do tomorrow?
Look, I think the kind of the first step is just the simplest step is start using different things. Most people know just GPT only, but there's so many, similar services of GPT. And I think as soon as you start educating yourself about the capabilities, even you can do with like this retail facing products like GPT, then you can realize, okay, that's actually, a very interesting use case for my product or for some internal processes, or like what I've heard from our HR recently. We started experimenting with AI when we reviewing CV, because we have a lot of candidates applying for the role, and usually for hiring manager it's just nightmare. And what a lot of hiring managers do, they just choose like 3 CVs they like and then just discard the rest. But AI can actually, help you with reviewing all the CVs. So again, going back to the advice, I think just start using these tools, and when you're using these tools, you start educating yourself. And when you start educating yourself, you actually open a Pandora box, and you think about, okay, there are actually different models, and there are actually different models for different tasks. And you know what? There is actually a lot of things you can do yourself there is a lot of no-code things. You can actually create your own application website just talking to AI. So you don't need to be, technical expert. So yeah, start, using the tools, and I'm pretty sure, very soon you will open a Pandora box, and you will discover that there are a lot of opportunities for your business.
Yeah. Which one are you using the most, or have you recently discovered which you would love to kind of learn more about yourself?
I'm technical geek, so I'm using everything. So I'm using GPT, Gemini. I have my LLM model locally as well when I'm testing with that. So there's a big trend right now for AI agents. There are different platforms actually just focusing on that. You can use Made.com, you can use Zapier. People are very excited about M8N platform for building AI agents and automation. And it's not the rocket science. It's very easy. It's a bit easier for me because I have technical background, but it's not the rocket science. But there's so many things you can actually automate.
Yeah.
And automation might be not the right word, but you can actually rely on AI with like routine tasks, and not just routine tasks, but you can actually, what we see in Wirex, in some part of our processes, we even have AI agent who make decisions, and it's working. So it's very exciting.
That's so cool. And I am also going deep dive into the whole agent universe. But that's for a whole nother conversation, because we are running out of time. And I really want to hear, who is a leader that have made a lasting impression on you and have influenced the way you perhaps do things today?
That's a good question. I'm very competitive by nature, so it's why everyone who's doing crypto business, I don't see them as a role model. But Elon Musk is a very good example. He's controversial, but that's fair. But I think what he managed to achieve in different areas is very inspiring. If I need to choose one,
definitely a controversial character that sparked
absolutely.
some enthusiasm, I think. Pavel,
Yeah.
we could continue this discussion. I really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining the Pantrium Podcast.
Thank you for having me today. Thank you very much.
If this episode gave you something to think about, I'll be really grateful if you could share this with your LinkedIn network. And to make sure you don't miss out on any new episodes, simply follow Pantrium wherever you are listening or watching. And just a note, the opinions and views shared by our guests are entirely their own and don't necessarily represent the businesses they work for. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. Until next time, bye for now.